Sorry. Damn,
Well,
I
that's the
fucked
first
it
thing
up.
getting cut. That's the first thing getting cut.
No, we'll leave it. We're not the type to monetize this anyway. With that splendid intro, welcome to the first session of the Table Trash podcast. My name is Ryan. I'll be acting mostly as your main host. CombatMagi. CombatMagi is doing our recording, and we'll pop in occasionally. We have, and as additional presenters on a rotating schedule, we have today we're joined by Sean,
AKA Hunter. Hello.
yeah, Nate and Merk.
Tesai, Tactical Lolly.
Oh. Hi, I'm Merk.
Yep. And for this first podcast, we're gonna, keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. So first, we're going to to let you know basically where we come from and stand, as we feel we can offer our opinions. And our opinions offered in this podcast aren't the word of law, where none of us are officially affiliated with anything we talk about. Nobody's getting hush money from Wizards of the Coast. So it's it's good. As the main host, I'll start, and then anybody can take up after me. Just restate your name so people can get used to names, voices. I'm Ryan, also known as Rin. You're gonna hear Combat call me that a lot when he talks to me, just because that's how we know each other mostly. But I've been gaming since I was 8, GMing since I was 12. Primary experience, honestly, is the D&D suite, but in the last 5 or 6 years, I've branched out and basically got this gaggle of people together and hosting it. So if something happens, it's my fault. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I am Tactical Lolly. People will be calling me Nathan or Nate or whatnot or Lolly. I have many variety of names. I have been gaming for, I want to say, 6 years and DMing for 1. I haven't done a lot of systems, but I've done a decent amount. And yeah, that's that for now, at least. The rest you have to unlock with DLC.
Yeah, Sean here, Brooks. Hunter by the user tag. I only recently got into the scene about, I want to say 8-10 years ago. That doesn't seem recent, but it feels like that in my head. Been gaming in a variety of systems. I honestly can't keep track anymore. Most of which either bomb out or I've stuck to like glue, such as being things like D&D, Exalted, and a couple in the Fantasy Flight Warhammer collection. Oh, those beautiful, beautiful games. And all the fond memories. Been GMing for a little while now. Can't say that I'm truly a master at it, but I have a fair amount of experience, I think. And only going to get better with time, so. Merk?
Hello. I'm Merk, or Merk, or NotMerki, or just Merki. Keeping it nice and simple with that one. I've played a lot of 5e and Pokemon Tabletop United. I've tried other systems, haven't really meshed with anything outside of Blades in the Dark. But yeah, I've done a lot of GMing. I've played in quite a few campaigns. Some of them even lasted more than 3 sessions. So that's exciting.
Which means, last but not least, before I go over the people that aren't here, Combat, remember you're muted for recording
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah. For sound, I am CombatMagi. Most people just call me Combat, and then we make jokes about, being in combat. But I am not funny, so you will probably not hear my voice very often. And I have been playing for 7, 8 years. Started with Pathfinder 3.5, and now it's mostly PTU, which is Pokemon Tabletop United, like Merk said, and some 5th edition, and then whatever the rest of these chuckleheads dredge up on the internet.
Thanks, Combat. And once again, I've said this off mic. I'll say it on mic before we go into the other people that have agreed to join us in a rotating fashion. Thank all of you for doing this. I know I've been sitting on this idea for a while, and it just kind of came out. I know I grabbed all of you kind of out of the blue, and got the ball rolling. But I thank you for this. Not with us today, but in the rotating hall of presenters. That is our group. Is actually, what is Ree's username? Osahar? Osahar?
Osahar.
Osahar. Osahar? Is that how you say it? and we'll probably just call her Ree. She's been gaming for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but she's from my experience, she's a damn good DM and a pretty good player. And we'll let her introduce herself. We'll let all these people I'm talking about in the third person introduce themselves more fully when they're on their first session. Next is Crow. He'll also be called DumbCrow occasionally. He's been GMing off and on, it sounds like, for about as long as or about as long as Merk's been playing. He's he makes interesting characters, and he's a good guy to have around. He's also the guy that'll show you the balanced homebrew most of the time when he finds it, including Mark. And last but not least, he's in a completely different time zone, so I don't know how often he'll show up. But Will of the Winds, been gaming for, I think he started with us. So he's been gaming for about 2 years. Nice guy. Has very unique opinions about games, but he'll be a bit. He'll be lending his opinions when he can.
I mean,
And
don't
like
we
all our
all have unique opinions about games?
I mean, oh, we definitely do. We definitely do, but you know, that's a thing. But yeah, we have some time in the segment, so I think what we'll do, and of course I'll start again. We'll talk about either our favorite system or the one that's meshed with us the most. For me, I hate to say it because it's got a bad reputation, but I have, because of my family connections to gaming, I have an attachment to the Palladium systems, Rift,
I think its mic went out.
Minor technical difficulties. Give me a quick second.
Indeed.
Ah, let me start again. We're using Discord, so audio issues can help. And if you hear any banging on my mic end, it's we're having a little bit of roof work done that just emergencyly happened, literally last night or yesterday morning. But I don't know where I cut off, so.
You're
So,
right about to talk about the system that you're a favorite of.
Yep, I have a strong attachment to the Palladium line of systems. Sean, you can groan. But because of my brother, my late older brother, I played a lot of Palladium, mostly Robotech, so I was spared some of the weird intricacies of riffs and stuff like that. But that's mine. It's just very nostalgic. I probably won't talk about it that much because I need to double check and do my research, but I'm not sure if Palladium exists anymore. I don't know if they exist as a company. Sean, would you know?
Not off the top of my head. I believe they're still in business.
Fair enough. And yeah, that's just a little bit from me. Whoever wishes to go next, may.
Hey Nate, how about you step up to the plate?
Crack Snuckles. Let's see. My favorite system. It's kind of hard for me to choose between D&D 5e and Fantasy Flight's Only War. I've been doing 5e longer than Only War, but Only War really fits my 40k niche, and it's a pretty easy system for me. But honestly, I can't get enough of either of them. But yeah, those are my favorite systems.
And kind of branching off of that. Yeah, Fantasy Flight's 40k systems are a bit niche. They do get a bit bloated in mechanics in some aspects. I would say, but overall it does get across the point of the 40k universe. I think there's enough crunch in there and enough of the and enough of the setting there to really just speak through the mechanics, which lovely though. The one that got me into gaming, which is something I will always hold dear, is of course 5e, 5e D&D, and that was back when can't say when I was because I still am just a completely shy and stumbling person.
Don't worry, we love you all the same.
Aww.
Now, Whips, continue being forever DM.
Why with you? Why all this? I want to play.
Mood.
All right, Merk, how about you?
Hello.
Yes.
If I think back to it, my first tabletop gaming experience was an entirely homebrew system that my friend made in high school.
Oh no.
I have very fond memories of my character Charlie, but we'll save those for another day. Outside of that, my first, I guess you could call it, actual tabletop system was 3.5 D&D, which If anybody knows me now, they know my opinions on 3.5 and Pathfinder. They are not my favorite things. But beyond that, I played 5th edition, and I've played Blades in the Dark. I love Blades in the Dark to death. Absolutely wonderful system. Love everything about it. I will GM it at some point. And after Blades in the Dark, I got into Pokemon Tabletop. Oh boy, it's a very interesting system. We have our good times and we have our bad times, but it is how it is.
Hey, Merk, Pangoro still doesn't get sucker punched.
Why doesn't Pangoro get sucker punch?
And that leads into my thing, if I may, Merk.
You may, I suppose.
I gotta say, all tabletops are kind of my favorite. I like some more than others. I enjoy a good story, but I do have a special place in my heart for PTU because I grew up playing Pokemon since Gen 1. Yes, whatever. But you're able to do things in a tabletop setting and with Pokemon that you've always wanted to do since you were a kid. We can give Pangoro Sucker Punch. We can make Crystal Onyx. We can, have shiny Pokemon show up and just have them do weird, fun stuff. And then I can tell a shit story for 2 years, and then,
It's not that bad.
But yeah, so if I have to choose a favorite system, probably PTU. I do enjoy Legend of the Five Rings that reruns. I enjoy Sentinels that Sean runs. I enjoy, I'm in a lot of Mercs and Ren's games, so it's I enjoy the people I play with.
Yep. And if I can take back over, just as a brief overview of how we kind of all met each other. Nate will have to fill in on him, and Nate or Sean will have to fill in on their end because I met him through Nate. I met Combat Merc and Will through the Loading Crew Discord. As I ran a system Sean showed me a little bit after we met called Thews. I ran a Rune Factory themed game in it. That went pretty well. And I kind of picked up, and then I met Nate in Job Corps. In the St. Louis Job Corps. I hope y'all are surviving in there. Yeah, Nate had played some games, but I was really running Pathfinder mostly at that time, and he hopped in on games when I met him. We kind of developed from there.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Yeah, you got some beef, man? Like, I'm sorry that one guy just wanted to be a dragon disciple every game. That's not my fault, man. Anyway. Anyway, and through Sean and Nate, I met Ree. Ree is wonderful, and I hope she ends up coming on sooner rather than later, as she's got a very interesting perspective on things. Because I believe, isn't she either has her degree or is working on her degree in psychology? I keep forgetting which one.
I believe I have to ask her.
Fair enough. We can ask her later. But yeah, we kind of I met Ree through that group of friends, and then Crow was shortly after I met Merk. I think it was you who yelled at Crow to throw me in, because our first game together, Merk, that wasn't me GMing, was PMD, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Fearless Leader.
Always and forever.
But oof, sorry, excuse me. But other than that, and I'll definitely let them, everybody else talk about their experience as interpersonary. But I think first we'll pass it off to either Nate or Sean, whoever wants to talk about you two's connection. As much as you're willing to talk about it.
Okay, so first, me and Nate, we did meet on a within quote unquote gaming. Oh, jeez.
For those who are
Looking back on it, it's such an edgelord fest.
I have much concern.
It was not any kind of tabletop RPG. It was a game mode in StarCraft 2. Nate, if you would do the honors.
Cortex roleplay, where, as it sounds, you just it's like a little thing where you do roleplay. You can do commands and shit like that to customize, units and shit like that. So, say for example, I was to spawn I put down exclamation mark spawn space marine, and it'll spawn a marine from the Terrans, and shit like that. And I do stuff like exclamation mark, or I think it was at say, and the unit that I clicked on will say what I typed down and shit like that. So there's a lot of commands and shit. And you can do that to customize a character, like rename them, give them different stats, different models. Like it's kind of complex from the outsider, but it gets easier as you play more of it. But basically, the gist of it is using commands and shit. You role play with other people on the server. It was not organized.
No, it was not. So me and Nate basically met by chance in this. I was literally jumping into it for like the third time, just having gotten my feet wet, and ran into this jerk.
That's always good when you can call one of your best friends a jerk. On pseudo live podcast.
I won't go into details about it, but oh, what the heck? Do you want to explain what the heck happened that got us so endeared to each other?
Right. So I believe it was. I don't remember if it was our first time or second time in the same server.
It was our first time that we fucking met.
Right. So yeah, it was our first time in that server. It was on a map that fucking everyone used because fuck other maps, right? Pardon my language. But so it was some cliche shit. Sean had a little setup going on in this little cave area, like a little mini town in there.
Yes,
And
like the sweat goblin that I was.
and my character frequented in there and stuff like that. One day, sort of going through a little depressive episode in there. I know edgy shit, but I was very edgy back in the day. Still am now. Anywho,
I know. Every time I talk to you, I got to worry about cutting myself on that edge.
But so one of Sean's characters was talking with mine, and yada yada yada. One thing led to another. Talked about my backstory, how my character lost his wife and everything, and out of fucking nowhere, Sean's character's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry I had to do that," and I was like, "Wait, what?" And then the revelation, and then the entire chat was doing colon capital O's.
Surprise Pikachu face.
Yeah, nearly choked out that character.
And we've been friends ever since.
I keep forgetting you two met in an RP environment because, like, me and Merk when we met, talked about our gaming experiences. I have limited experience with RP servers, but Merk here.
Oh boy. Yeah, I've been doing a roleplay group for a very, very long time. Let me just pull up a certain date. Yeah, it looks like at this
Oh
point
no, he has
it's
the date
been
memorized. But it did
8
not end
years
well.
with a single group of people just doing roleplay. And where did I meet such wonderful people who can be so consistent with their writing, Merk? You may be asking me, and that answer would be Tumblr.
I mean, to be fair, to be fair to Tumblr, people accentuate the bad. There are some good writers on Tumblr. The problem is a lot of the edgy, worse stuff gets brought to the forefront, and that's not a bash on Tumblr. Everybody learns how to write. Has
Yeah,
to learn past that.
everybody
Well,
has to
Merc,
have their
what
edgy
kind of do
OC
you have
phase
to
at
deal
some
with?
point. And the earlier you have it, the more interesting your characters can become later on.
I fucking when I started out RPing, I always self-inserted, including name and everything.
Even back then, I thought it was weird, but hey, what am I gonna do?
I don't self-insert if I can help it. It's good to have a little bit of yourself and your character. It's easier to roleplay that way, though.
Yeah, it's always good to have that. I don't know. It's weird. Like, I kind of skipped over the self-insert stage just by starting so young because my brother, who got me into role playing, started with his army group. He was a veteran of the U.S. Army, and so every time he got leave, him and his buddies would gather in Austin, and literally play for their whole entire leave. To the point where it was a problem.
I don't see any problem with that.
Him and his first wife were not on good terms, so he just kind of used it as a get away from that woman.
I see that.
Yeah, but enough about family issues. Yeah, like I said, in some way or form, everybody who's on the podcast have interacted with each other. Whether it's Ree and Merk, who are just playing together for the first time in my 5e game, about the moon that's a beholder, or the moon is a beholder, or it's me and Nate, or Sean and Nate, or a lot of people and Nate, who have known each other for a while. Despite being the edgy teen he is still in his 20s, he's gathered quite the following of friends.
It's an
Crap,
oddly
of course.
magnetic personality.
Quite. Don't know how to
Yeah.
turn it off.
But that being said, like I said, I'm running a 5e game right now and 2 Pokemon tabletop games, one on hiatus, one I've got to run this Sunday actually, but Sean, are we past the period we're allowed to actually talk about Sentinels?
I don't mind talking about the system or any factor. I think.
Yeah, but I thought it was I know when you got it first, it was off the Sentinels RPG Kickstarter, and we weren't allowed to be too public with it because it was a work in progress.
Well,
Basically, is it past the NDA time?
Because that is a great game. It's out now, so I'd assume it is. It is past. Like you can go pick it up on Drive Through RPG right now. I was looking at that.
yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't see why you needed my confirmation.
Well, it's your game, so
But
it's your
no,
game.
it's not my game.
You know what I mean. You run the game we're playing.
didn't know he owned the system. Dang.
We have such a big shot
That is
on our
a
first
gross
podcast.
allocation, and I don't want to deal with legal repercussions.
No, the Sentinel,
One, I can't afford a
the
lawyer.
yeah, the Sentinel Comics people are good. But speaking of Kickstarters and such, if you all don't mind segueing towards the next topic,
I do mind,
we've
but
got
proceed.
fair enough. Fair enough, but it's from what I found for us to talk about. It is a light news day, but I've got two things I'd like to bring up. We have, depending on your childhood experience, some of you might be too young to remember this, but they're making a Dark Crystal RPG, tabletop RPG. Which is interesting. If you don't know, Dark Crystal was a Jim Henson dark fantasy production from the 80s? Like, it's old. Yeah, 1980s. Like, I'm looking at the article right now. This is 1980s. But yeah, which is going to be interesting. They also made a tactics game a couple of years ago, announced at E3. That's it, set in that universe. But from what I remember of Dark Crystal, that'll be an interesting experience. We might have to take a look at it in our own gaming group sometime, Sean. Yeah. And then the bigger one, Merk, you know a little bit more about this than I do. A new 5e supplement is scheduled to release in March, I believe it is. Merk? For our...
Yeah, it's supposed to be out in March.
yeah.
And it's a fairly sizable collection of adventures that you can either run as one shots, insert into your campaign anywhere that kind of fits. It is structured around just standard D&D lore, though. So if you're doing homebrew, you might have to change a few things.
And we haven't had any confirmation as of yet if it's going to be like Sword Coast and include new things or not, right?
As far as I can see from the couple of articles in the pre-order page on Roll20, it doesn't seem like it's going to introduce any new character options. It's just a book of adventures.
Which is fine. Like, a lot of great DMs will be like, we'll take things from other adventures. I mean, look, the only adventure that seems sacred to most D&D groups I've seen is Strahd.
One day, Strahd, one day.
But yeah. Let's see, other than that, Sean, and you're allowed to get a little ranty, because it is technically tabletop. You said Warhammer was doing something new? With a Vanguard unit?
Oh. Which one are we talking about here? Are we talking about the new system that was brought up for 40K, which was
Wrath and Glory, I believe.
yes, that was it. I was actually drawing a blank on the name.
No, I
Shows
was
how well it
talking.
stayed in my head.
Well, I mean, I was talking about because the miniatures game is still technically a tabletop game. We can talk about it here. You said something about new Vanguard units that didn't gel with you.
Oh, I believe we were talking about the Death Guard before we came onto the podcast. Yeah, the new box for Death Guard, the new models look great, but the thing that is kind of knocking me off is the fact that there are 30 of the Poxwalkers, which by the new rules are kind of, well, crap still. The real big change with them is that one of their rules, disgustingly resilient, no longer functions as it did, and it feels like a major shock to the system for me. Though the rule it's been replaced with is okay. I don't know. I'd have to actually play with the rest of the sandbox before I actually say anything definitive
Oh,
about my
fair
own
enough.
personal tastes.
Fair enough. We can talk about that some other time. I was just curious. It was news to me, so I didn't know you heard it. But yeah, we've let's see. Other than that,
I
just
mean,
double
just
checking. Go ahead.
speaking on Games Workshop for just one more second. The
Go ahead.
fact that they are coming out with as many
One
releases
second.
as they are and as quickly as they are is a real testament to just how much they are trying to improve the quality of their work. Though that is going to be interlaced with a bunch of things that are going to stick out as either problematic or longtime fans might find disagreeable.
Well, to piggyback off that, it's a miniatures game, and like all collectible games, power creep is always an issue. Like sometimes to make the new options appealable, you've gotta either rewrite the rules or make units more powerful to get people to use them. So they're not just using the same Imperial Guardsmen they've been using for 50 years.
Hmm.
Which, which is no problem. I mean, I play Tau, so I have nowhere to judge.
I mean, when was the last game you played?
It's been a while.
Yeah, you
Last
might
time
not
I
recognize
actually,
how they play at this point.
last time I played is when we play. You were showing me some of the changes to Tau in Tabletop Sim, so it's been a
Ah,
while. Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah. I if you have the money for it, I'm not judging you or anything. It's an expensive hobby, unfortunately. I like the world, I like the setting, I like everything, which is why I like the Warhammer systems, like Nate said, but it's expensive. Let's see. Yeah, well, we got a few more minutes for this segment. Is there any news any of y'all know to bring up, tabletop wise?
Then no.
If not, we can just let Merk talk about the new book we found that isn't exactly new but is interesting.
Oh boy.
I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead, man.
Oh
All
no.
right. Let's start talking about the magical land of Yeld.
Oh no.
Uh, yeah,
Let me
it's
tell you about.
let me tell you about it. All right. So, imagine you're a child from the ages of 7 to 12. And you find a
Already a good time.
mysterious door into a magical land that's filled with monsters. So I'm not sure why you'd want to go there in the first place, but you do. And then one day, when you go in, the door doesn't open back up to let you out. And unfortunately, in this magical world, once you hit the age of 13, you become one of those monsters. The only way to get out is to get the 7 keys from these horrible people and a prince vampire named Dracul. And you do all this, being 7 to 12 years old.
It's interesting because other than like Vampire, which is very lore heavy dependent system, this is the first game that I've looked at as a system in a while that is here are the plot points just general to the system, but the adventure in between is yours and yours alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a D6 system, so I think us here who play well, even Sentinels is a dice pooling system too, like this is are drawn to it because it's simple without being what do I want to say? What's the word? Condescending. It's simple without being condescending.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And the the rule book for it is really nice too, because after a certain section, there will be a nice colored comic and everything that explains the rules a little bit more simply than just all the typed out nonsense that you had to read through.
Mm.
And
And
it's got
it's
everything you could ever need. And something very interesting is that there's not just one GM for the system. In the book itself, it says that all the players should be taking a turn to GM a portion of the adventure. Because it's not just running through one person's story, it's a collaborative effort between everybody at the table.
mm,
And I found
and
that to be extremely interesting.
at least me and Merk are currently looking for a time slot to run it.
Aren't we always?
We got a Wednesday, Merk. We got a Wednesday.
That we do.
God. Good, I've realized if we have our way, we're just gonna have games literally every day of the week. And that's probably not healthy.
I mean,
it just kind of shows we're all giant nerds.
we play every day.
If only one could live in such a perfect world.
I'm telling you, we always shoot our responsibilities after getting enough money. We move out into the desert, start a gated community, and all we do is play D&D and farm. It's fine. Get Sean out of Alaska, away from those Wendigos.
I think you have your lore mixed up, but hell, I'll run with the joke.
But
That would require to convince Merk to move away from Canada land, though.
Where the Wendigos are.
But yeah, we're about that though. Speaking of games, yeah, we're at the mark. We're about at the mark. I said. We're speaking of games. I think, and we had most agreements when we talked about topics for our first cast, that we start where every campaign begins, finding a game and gathering people together. Like you can see, for a lot of us, it was either family or happenstance, or one of us decided to run a game, and we collected our people. But
I believe our first major interaction was, "Hey guys, isn't Rune Factory a cool game? Yeah, let's talk about that for 20 minutes. Hey, I have this system. We could try to play a Rune Factory game. I'm down for that."
Do it!
Yeah, like, don't the main thing I can say, and we'll talk about minutia, of course, in a few minutes, is I know it looks daunting in any system. You look at 5e and you're like, oh, Critical Role, I can't run a game like that. Look, you don't need to. Even Mercer himself is like, hey, your game isn't going to be Critical Role, but it's going to be your game, and that's what's important.
Indeed.
It's the experience you have with your friends, or the chuckle fucks you pick up along the way.
Tomato.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of going into that, like, looking for a group or finding a group. Yeah, some of it can be happenstance, or simply looking around on a few local sites that there are going to be, well, considering the year, that's situations, and that might be a lot more difficult than it was prior. Though places like Roll20 and a few other online services specifically dedicated to tabletop gaming do have the functionality, such as Discord, to help you find a group to get going.
Yeah.
Indeed. Most of the games I've happened on was just searching through, like with Ryan's Job Corps. I just kept on watching it, like, hey, you want to join? I was like, sure. For Roll20, I just do looking for groups. For one with Sean, I did public games and Cortex Roleplay. Like, yeah, a good amount of times it's sort of nepotism of getting invited to games and whatnot. But the first step is going out there to look for games yourself.
Mhm. And oh, sound like you were about to say something. I'm sorry.
No.
But a lot of this is a lot of it definitely is, especially if you're like, hey, I know there's a few of you out there because I've met them. Hey, I want to be a GM. I have this idea. Like, don't be scared. Like, yeah, there is elitism, especially in some communities, but that is a admittedly vocal minority and stuff. Most people will be like, "Oh, you're a first-time GM. Uh, I've got a slot open and I have experience with the system. Let me help. I'll play. I can help you with the system. Like, don't be afraid to don't be afraid as long as you have an agreement to have a co-GM, a friend or somebody you know with experience with the system that's like, hey, I want to do this, and I know it's possible, but I can't find the page. Be like, hey, it's on page 250 of the DMG. I don't know what's on page 2.
No, go ahead. Sorry, thought you were done.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know what's on page 250 of the DMG. I'll have to check when we're done today. But go ahead, Sean.
But yeah, in that same vein, anyone who's trying to be a GM for the first time, you should never feel like you're trapped in trying to do this alone. Like, you have to be the one to hold all the cards behind your on the table here. Because the players are just as much going to help you run the story as you are. I mean, one of the big things is trust your players. But kind of the other thing on like finding a game is the one that honestly the first game that I ever played with anyone was actually in college, not counting like Cortex, which met Nate on, but it was during like a Halloween during 2012, and I just got a referral from a friend. Like, hey, I found a group that's doing this. Do you want to join me? And I had nothing else to do. Like, a bunch of the plans that I had for that day went up in smoke, and so just semi-depressed. Just, you know what? Fine. What could possibly come of rolling a bunch of dice? And now I'm here.
Yeah, wait, they snared you in the web, but yeah, like, it's a thing. Like, look, don't get disheartened. Like Sean says, roll 20's a source. If you follow any D&D YouTubers or hell, even Let's Players have looking for group communities in their Discords and various chats. Get on there, be like, hey, even in like a Let's Players thing, like I know Tom Fox has a looking for group chat. Get on there and be like, hey, I'm interested. I know it's not normally what we do here, but I'm interested in running D&D. Just be like, hey, mod, is this allowed? And reach out there. Like, yeah, you may not hear nothing, and you may also just hear a lot of people going, what's the joke in the Looting Crew Discord? Game.
Yeah. And to kind of emphasize, you can, if you want to be a player in that scenario, just say, hey, I'm interested in getting into this hobby and whatnot in the chat. And there are times where a lot of people will like, that's kind of rare, keep your ears open. But there's sometimes that just recently, actually, I think someone's like, hey, I'd like to play a game or get into this hobby. And we're like, well, just a couple days ago, someone said they were running a game, so talk to this dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like definitely talking to people. Yeah, a lot. It may be hard to find, but a lot of your major social media platforms will have things. Check if you use it. Check Of course, don't go out right now until everything's settled, but check Facebook. I joined before I moved where I'm living now. I was part of a tabletop gaming guild. A guild out of a couple towns over, and we just gather together and talk and play games.
Hmm.
Just
If you've
Go
got
ahead, Mark.
if you have a local game store too, a lot of the times they'll have Facebook groups and stuff like that, where people are always looking to run games.
And even there, gaming stores is a good point, Merk. Don't feel weird if your first D&D experience, we'll just use that because it's kind of mainstream, is Adventurers League. Get your foot in the door. You can usually find out that somebody's running an Adventurers League game at your local store. And usually, I'm not going to say all the time because I don't like blanket statements, but usually you can find the guy running it because most of the time it's the guy running the shop. He'll be like, yeah, well, let's get you set up. Because other than some people, like every community, the tabletop gaming community is definitely very good of, oh, you want to join us? More people want to be in this hobby? Come on over here, friend. Hey, guys.
And it can be as simple as that. You can walk into the store wanting some information and walk out having played a session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. I hate to endorse something, but if you're in the Hannibal, Missouri, Quincy, Illinois area, in here, not this year, but hopefully next year, they'll be having their annual QuinCon, which is $10. If you got a day on a week, is a weekend con. That if you've got a day on a weekend and you've got $10 and nothing to do, you can go join for a game and for a day and sign up for games and talk to people. Like game shop people will be there, and then there's was it a Wizard started initiative? International Tabletop Day. Did Wizard start that or?
Not sure.
Yeah.
Apparently it's June 1st.
Oh. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. But yeah, it's a thing. Just being there and like I'm gonna say this, and don't take it the wrong way. And one of my fellows can probably explain it to better, but don't expect your game to be like something you've heard. If you've got one of friends like our friend groups who are really into tabletop games, but you're kind of about it, don't hope, but don't expect your game to be like something you've heard. Because a lot of the times your first game can be your GM's first game too, and the best thing you can be as a GM, and I believe everybody else in the chat and on the cast can jump on with me. You can be you can be not sure about the system. You can take a while to get your turns, but as long as you're there paying attention and enthusiastic about it, we'll deal with everything all day. I don't care if your turn takes 5 minutes when you're first starting out. Your turn takes 5 minutes. It's okay.
There's always a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just
it
don't...
does. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was gonna make a joke. It's bad. Go ahead.
It's kind of multifaceted. You know, when you first start out, you don't know what you're doing, and definitely one thing, if you get in a game and especially if it's like a game with an experienced person, like I'm not sure anyone else, but I luckily, my first game was run by my roommate at the time, and he had multiple years of playing the game and whatnot. So one of the first lessons I learned so I could be a better player, in my opinion, though I believe a lot of these other people would agree, I have a stick up my ass sometimes.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Look, I live with you.
Anyways, ask questions. Ask questions about the setting, ask questions about the system. If you don't know, ask a question. It is better than just. It is usually better than just flying by the seat of your pants.
Mm.
I've played games with Merk, and sometimes he does that on occasion. But he also knows the system.
And Merk, I will let you talk more into this, but definitely, like, even if while you're waiting for a game, just take the PDF or for the games who have online SRDs, just take some time. You're not doing anything else and read them. Like, you may find inspiration, and you may be able to. You'd be surprised what a good read through of a system will do for one, inspiration, and two, for your understanding. Like, playing is always good. In fact, most of the time when I find a new system, I make a character in it to learn how it works. I'm not telling you have to do that. Please don't take my words as fact. I'm the worst person to be taking advice from, but
With that
Yeah.
attitude.
I don't know, I
but
live
yeah,
with him, it's pretty accurate.
Oof, you wound me, sir. But yeah, Merk has a mantra about books. If you want to go ahead, Merk.
Ah, yes. If you ever have a question about a game you're running, just read through the books. And if you can't find it, just read through the book. And if you still can't find it, read the specific section you think you'd get the answer in. And if you still can't find it, just make up your own rules.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's easier to say that for a GM rather than a player, but if you're a player and you can't figure something out, just ask your GM before you just make up your own rules.
Please.
There is an extra step for players.
Here's
Step 5, ask your GM to make your own rules.
But yeah.
5 B. If you are the GM, just make up your own rules.
Nate,
Yes.
you've been a bit quiet. You have sorry to call you out like that. But you got anything to add? I know you're more the pensive type until you have an opinion. You have something you latch on to, but
Let's talk about Nate's best thing he's best known for: stealing the scene if no one stops him.
oof.
I am
Oof.
guilty of this, yes.
Is it stealing if nobody was taking it?
Yeah.
That is also a better question, yeah.
Yeah.
But that might actually be a good thing, especially for new players. Trying to find that balance of being in the spotlight. Because remember, this
Yeah.
is a cooperative game.
Yep. I will put it maybe a little less delicately than people do, but I will tell you all what my big brother told me the first D&D game. You are not Link. You are not Doom Guy. You are not the main character. You are a part of a cast of individuals, and part of the fun is bouncing off that cast. Learn from your players. Yeah, you're not gonna always agree. Learn from the other players. You're not always gonna agree with them. Hell, I think everybody here can cite a couple of occasions where even interpersonally we've been like, well, that's the rule. Yeah, that rule fucking sucks. Sucker Punch, for example. But yeah, like discussion. Just be open, honest, and another thing, on an honesty discussion, if I'm going to put this here because I've noticed it's a big problem for first-time players. If you're uncomfortable with something, please let your GM know, because most of the time we're like, oh, nobody spoke up about this. I know it was a little controversial, but let's go on. I can get away with this kind of stuff. Stop us. We'll
Yes.
keep going.
Communication is vital.
hmm But honestly, most GMs, unless it's inherent in the setting they're running, and a GM will let you know, will avoid anything too spicy without a formal warning. But
Back to Nate
think-
because I so rudely interrupted though.
oh yeah, fair
Alright.
enough.
Shit.
Lost the thought.
Yeah, train of thought. What was I on about?
You were on about fuck. Now my train's derailed.
You were just starting when I realized I could take a jab at you and bring up the main character spotlight thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Excuse me.
you definitely want to make sure everyone has their spot, in the light and shit like that, because it's not just one player's the main character; it's the whole party. At least that's how it should be. But I do understand there will be at times where either yourself or another player might be getting it a lot, which may not be either. It could be no one's fault, and it could be some people's fault. To put back of a letter, lack of a better explanation. So, say for example, no player is trying to do anything. They're just basically being an NPC. Well, technically, you're taking the spotlight since no one else doing anything, which is not your fault because you're taking the initiative to doing something, to role play, get involved in the story.
By extension,
But
it should help others also get involved if you keep the floor open to everyone else.
exactly.
Yep.
If you
like
are,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, you're good. If you're if you're taking the spotlight and shit, make sure at least try to have it to where others can chime in and stuff, because maybe they didn't have the motivation until you took the spotlight and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or
Don't be
no
afraid
ideas.
to. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry again.
yeah, good.
Don't be afraid to pull other people in. Like, to use Sentinels as an example right now, the character I'm playing is Xavier Grimm, nickname, or Xavier, the Japanese word for Grimm, because weeb. I'm weeb trash. But it's right now is kind of in the spotlight just because of where we are, where the party is. We're in Japan right now, and he's a Japanese person with ties to the Yakuza. So, like, he's taking a bit of the spotlight. Just sometimes, like, take the initiative, and the person who's in the spotlight should definitely be like, hey, I look over to Nate. Nate, what are you doing? And to be fair, that's a response you usually get is and just help them along. Like, yeah, we're kind of in this meeting. What are you doing? Yeah, picking your nails, staring at the floor. Does your character have something to add?
Yeah. Or in this podcast's or in this podcast's case, fighting I am fighting the Beastman as Vlad von Karstein, but that's completely unrelated.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, we're by no means the most professional people in the world, so we'll do stuff in the background. You probably heard me open a can of pop a minute ago, but yeah, it's a thing. Like, and the biggest thing, especially with veteran GMs, we all understand you have families and stuff. So like, we're not gonna get onto you for being on your phone in an emergency or something, but please pay attention, like, because your GM will notice that and give you more to do.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're invested in this, and it may not even be like your GM knowing you're doing it, but they will appreciate it and be like, we'll, we'll, we'll definitely like turn the spotlight over to you. It's why some players find themselves being talked to by a lot of NPCs.
Yeah, sometimes GM will like, they don't look like they're having fun or they look bored. Let me try and engage them real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you see something you like in the game, then make sure you definitely pay attention and act on that, because the GM could be putting feelers out for what kind of things you want to do in the future as well.
Mhm.
So if you sit back and kind of let that opportunity pass you by, then something you could have a lot of fun with might not be in the game.
But yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you how to roleplay because I understand other people have their own methods, but do at least try and roleplay instead of doing stuff like so yeah, I just go and do this, like
Mm.
or hey, I tell them this. Actually, tell them, like engage in actual dialogue rather than hey, so I tell this player, yeah. No, just
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
it. But again, I'm not telling you how to roleplay. I just highly suggest that because it's more engaging.
Yeah, you'll it works for everything really. This is a entertainment medium, first and foremost. So suspension of disbelief is a thing,
It's also
and
just to make sure that everyone is still having fun. Because branching off of what Nate said there, of like, so my character's trying to impart this. Understandably, you're not going to have the dialogue answer or if you're still unsure of a character or an action, you might be on the fence of it. One, feel free to ask everyone else, like, how should I proceed? How should I proceed in this? Or just take a step back and try and kind of sound it all out in your head, not like literally sounding out the words or parsing it together to make the perfect sentence, but take the notes that you know you want to hit.
Yeah.
Sorry, that seems like it was reiterating a bit there, though.
No, you're fine.
no, it's fine. Like, people learn differently, so saying something a different way is fine. But yeah, a lot of this is basically you probably heard it thousands of times from other people, especially people more famous than us, but it is definitely, I want to do this. Uh, when coming to the hobby, I want to do this. I want to try this. Sometimes you just got to jump in. There'll be a rust, nicks and role playing wise, nicks and scrapes, that edges that need to be filed off of your character or yourself. But that's fine. Like, nobody is a. You ever seen a raw diamond? It looks like crap.
Shit, now I need to Google what raw diamond looks like. I don't even know.
Yeah, uncut gemstones always kind of look bad, just because they're uncut. But yeah, just dive in and look. I mean,
Tell that to a geologist.
hey, understandably, but that's their life's work. That's your hobby. That's your life's work, and I hope you love the work you decided to go get a degree for. But yeah, a lot of it, to go over points and reiterate, is one, use the resources available to you. Facebook groups, Roll20's looking for group. Roll20's free. Just sign up like you did to like you do to Facebook or YouTube, and start looking through groups. I mean, we've all got to you've got to start somewhere, and you know, don't be afraid to communicate and stuff, and most importantly, because I see this a lot, don't let one bad session or group of sessions color your game of a thing. Sometimes you just don't vibe with a group of people.
Yeah.
And because maybe you're a role play person and the group you've ended up in is combat focused. Talk to your GM about it. Maybe be like, hey, I don't have any real problems, but like, for example, hey Sean, been noticing Sentinels is I know, and it sounds like it's going to pick up next session, but I've noticed Sentinels for the last few sessions has been a bit of counter light. Can we do some combat? I've got all these cool powers that I want to use.
Or my personal favorite. Hey, Sean. So, on Exalted. So we have this massive amount of XP, but never gotten some downtime to level up. Can we get some downtime?
Yeah. Can we take?
See what I can make in the ledger.
I don't know.
we
You're in
love
war
you.
with zombie fire demons, so yeah, try to find downtime. You know, I'll reward you.
Yeah. To be fair, like, yeah, definitely, like, we pick on Sean because
fun.
we know because we know also we know he can take it, and we know he's not he's not the kind of person to get mad at us over stuff. But yeah, like,
Not
talk to your
often.
Look, we've all had some really bad takes sometimes that need to be called out on.
Yeah,
But,
no, you're right. I am by no means a spotless or, by any definition, great GM.
Yeah, and
all
no
right,
one's perfect.
no one's perfect, yeah, and like communication is key.
Mhm.
What else? Merk, you've been quiet for a bit. You got anything?
Sorry, I was eating a Kit Kat.
Not sponsored.
Did you bring enough for the rest of the podcast?
Well, funny you should say, because it was a pack of like a lot of Kit Kats, and I just ate the last one.
Ah, damn.
Perfect timing.
They were apple pie flavored. I couldn't stop myself.
Someone's got air. Like,
Give me a second. Should be good. But yeah, Merk, you got anything to add with them Kit Kats?
Bring snacks to your sessions.
That might be something we can talk about. It's all dependent on the group. You know, some people like doing long sessions, but my personal experience is most sessions last 2 to 4 hours.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right on average.
So make sure you make time for that. Like, don't just be like, oh, I can, plan this out. In my opinion, have a set starting time, but leave some time afterwards in case you guys go through a dungeon and you're just enthralled in it, or you're playing a different system and you're locked in a weird legal battle that's just like, well, we can't stop midway. We'll forget half of the facts if we have to pick this up and whenever we play next.
that offers another suggestion, and something for players and GMs alike that I'm sure you've heard time and time again. Take Notes.
Oh yes.
I refuse.
I mean, you've got the luck that Merc when you're in most of my games that because I'm a forgetful asshole sometimes that I usually have my sessions recorded for hey, of course if you're gonna take that approach, make sure everybody's okay with it because that is a legal area you do not want to get in trouble with.
Oh yeah. Jokes aside, taking notes definitely can help. You don't need to take notes on every little thing that anybody has ever said in the history of the world, but if something is relevant to your character or your interests, just jot it down because it could come up again later.
And sometimes those random
Precisely.
things can happen. Hey, isn't that the same goblin we met in like session 2? It's like
I
session
don't know.
80. What the fuck is he doing here?
And yeah, another thing, GMs, if your players don't take notes, be lenient on them. Just because they're not writing essays on your game to try to remember every little thing doesn't mean that they won't remember if you remind them, hey, this guy, he looks a little familiar. And thinking back, you think he might be, this one goblin that you met in session 2. There's nothing wrong with doing that for your players, and you shouldn't punish your players for not remembering something.
Yeah,
Games
especially if you have
aren't
a
played every day
sorry.
like you learn in school. It's like maybe every week, maybe every other week, maybe it's once a month, maybe you only meet twice a year. Who knows? People aren't gonna remember everything that happened, so take notes so you can keep track of things, but also your game master should be lenient on you if you do forget something.
yeah, just and especially like if you're lucky enough, like some GMs, like I personally prefer like shorter overall campaigns. Like I'll run a campaign that takes like a year or two to get through, but a lot of times I'll be like, okay, we're gonna run March to December. I think that's about how long the campaign is going to take. But if you're in one of GMs, if you're the GM for like a campaign that's gone on for months, don't be mad at your players if they don't remember something. That especially the earlier on stuff, like, oh yeah, remember one of your first missions was to save this minor noble. She's back. Yeah, buddy, that was in January. It's January of next year now. Can we give them a refresher? Like players are nice and players are good, and enthusiastic players will definitely keep notes. But even the best person's gonna forget something. And
Yeah.
players, don't be mad at yourself if you forget, especially if it hits you like a box of rocks. You're like, oh shit, that's right. Me and this noblewoman dated for like 6 months in game. Fuck, I don't remember her. That's happened more than once in games I've ran.
Incredible.
Look, sometimes you don't remember your interpersonal relationships.
There's a joke there.
There's plenty of jokes there. But anyway.
Is there?
Yes.
Oh, speaking of jokes and stuff, that is a good thing to touch on. When you're making players, when you make your first character, don't be afraid to draw on stereotypes you've heard, but if you're not comfortable with them, don't think that's how the character is supposed to be played. Not all bards are horny on main, to use a modern term. Like some bards are just like my favorite bard. She was the only like non-evil character in the party, but she was just a girl with a cello. She's nice.
Not all rogues have to be edgy teenagers.
Yeah,
Not sure about that one.
not all paladins have to be. I am the light in the darkness.
Yeah, sometimes they can be the darkness in the darkness.
Let's see what other
Doc.
stereotypes. Oh, here's one that doesn't come up very often because it is kind of tied. But not all rangers have to be nature lovers.
Yeah.
Urban rangers are a thing. Are a thing. Even still in 5th edition, the urban setting is good. An urban ranger could be like a bounty hunter or a street, or for lack of a better term, a street rat. They lived on the streets, so this is their wildlife. The concrete jungle is my jungle. God, that sounds like a Thews thing, doesn't it, Sean? Like, what's your D10? The concrete jungle is my jungle.
I mean, it'd be a bit more straightforward than that, but
Yeah, you know
that
what
can be on the head. That can hit directly on the head, depending on what kind of game you're playing with. What kind of game you're playing with, dude.
Yeah.
Tongue is
Yeah,
twisted.
but fair enough. We're getting close to the mark anyway. I set for this, so it's fine if we go a little shorter, a little longer. But yeah, basically, to reiterate, you can. Nobody's gonna fault you for trying, and if they do, those people were assholes anyway. Don't let them bother you. Nobody's going to expect perfection out of you for your first game.
Mm-hmm. Nobody
And
should
those
expect
two are wrong.
perfection out of you for any
Are,
game.
I don't know about those people.
Uh, what do you mean you didn't read all of my 67-page lore packet that I sent you the day before campaign started?
Yeah. If you're one of those people who write down a bunch of lore for your world and shit like that, one, good on you. Two, don't expect your players to know every single facet of your made up world and whatnot. It's gonna take some time. Like,
And like,
you know,
And
I'm
kind of
quite
on the
sure
other
that
note, go ahead.
I'm quite sure that they'll understand that you took time to make this world and all that, but again, don't expect them to know it right off the get go or ever, because some people it just takes forever to know shit, or maybe
Well,
they're not interested in certain aspects, and that's okay.
well, there's also the other thing to that, and not to say that it's solely the GM's responsibility, but well, it is to a degree up to the GM to bring the lore that you have presented or this world that you are presenting to life through the actions of the campaign. You can't expect someone to get invested by reading a bunch of footnotes.
definitely. And like,
I mean, it's one way to get interested in the world, but it's not a means to stay invested.
yeah, and like players, if your GM gives you something, skim through it. Like, I understand, definitely. This is a hobby. I don't want homework for my hobby, but if your GM's being reasonable and just goes, hey, here's this, it might help you understand something. Or what I do a lot, especially in Moon right now, is, yeah, uh, yeah, hey, Rin, about this. Oh yeah, that's fine. I forgot. Here's this, if that helps you understand. Like, your GM will generally, even if they don't hand you a packet of lore, your GM will generally be open to be like, oh yeah, it'll be either, oh yeah, I've thought of this, or I hadn't thought about that. I'll get back to you on that. We're people too, and sometimes sometimes you're GMing during your your safe haven from a boring work life or something else going on in your life, and you just haven't had time to write that thing down. We're fallible like everyone else, but with that, we're approaching. By my estimation, combat, we're approaching about an hour and 46, or a little less. I know we started a little later.
Actually, no, we're not even at an hour and a half.
Really? Fair enough.
We started at 12:30, my dude.
Fair enough. But yeah, I'm just thinking, what else we could cover? Anybody have any stories from their first campaign they wouldn't be remiss sharing with people?
Oh,
Just to kind of.
is it time?
I
Oh
believe
no,
it is
not
time.
Charlie.
We're going over the story of Charlie. Now, because this was very early on in my role-playing career, I was not over my edgy character phase yet. So, of course, his full name is Charlie Oathbreaker. And, I'll just use... I'll use as generic terms as I can because it was an entirely homebrewed system, so some things aren't gonna track one to one. But he was essentially a pyromancy wizard. And every character in the setting had a trait that was very specific to them. Charlie's trait meant that every wild animal would immediately aggro onto him as soon as he was in range. As a bonus, he got bonus damage against those animals. We go to the arena where, of course, you can fight animals to get money. So what does Charlie do but buy a bunch of grenades and challenge the wolves? I started just far enough away from the wolves where if I dropped a grenade at my feet and then ran away, the wolves would just get to the point where I had dropped the grenade. So Charlie ran around the arena a few times, dropping grenades at his feet for the wolves to explode by. And that was the arena debut of Charlie Oathbreaker. The very next time I went into the arena, I'm like, yeah, let me fight a bigger beast this time. Oh, the arena people smiled devilishly and said, of course, right this way, Charlie. And then we started fighting the Minotaur with a machine gun for an arm. Unfortunately, I didn't get my bonus against him, though he did target me every single round. Until I could get to the other side where one of my friends was waiting. Casted haste on the dwarf, and we finally took down the Minotaur. That was where that ended, because we didn't play too many sessions of that game, but the very, very short and sweet life of Charlie Oathbreaker was very entertaining and a very good way to get me into tabletop gaming. And I will remake him in 5e one of these days.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, on that phase, I mean, don't be afraid to do something ridiculous. One of my most known, one of my favorite first tabletop characters was actually 5 characters from the same family. That of course I talked with my brother, who was the GM at the time, about. But we had this was 3.5 D&D. We had gotten a mission to go steal an artifact from an ancient red dragon. We weren't supposed to fight the dragon. We were like level 4. But we go in. Our rogue rolls a nat 20 stealth, skitters off, and then this was kind of a funner campaign, so people were taking it a little less seriously. But our paladin goes, I'll go make sure he doesn't get jumped by a goblin or something. Roll stealth, rolls a nat 1. Falls flat on his ass. Then you have me, the halfling ranger. I kind of step in front of the paladin, the dragon looks at me, and I'm like, what are you looking at, motherfucker? I ain't scared. Got eaten. The next character I played in that family was his brother, who, upon hearing from the party that happened, conscripted them when they got stronger to go fight that dragon. Well, my brother thought it would be fun to make that dragon the main villain of the campaign. So, when that happened, we go back, and we're level 6 at this point. We're saving a city from, I think it was either zombies or orcs. It's been fucking 8-9 years now. I can't remember. But we were saving this village, and the dragon just touches down, starts giving. If you remember back in that day, the leadership feat was a thing, and you could give bonuses to things underneath your leadership. So the dragon starts doing that, and long and short of that character was 1v1 me scrub. And this started a chain of until this dragon was fucking dead at the end of the campaign, killed by the last remaining brother of that family, Napoleon, the halfling monk of a family, just wanting to fuck over that particular dragon. That guy in particular. Anybody else?
Hmm?
To be fair, it doesn't have to be your first campaign.
I have one. If I may take this table. So, my first character was a paladin because I at the time played World of Warcraft a lot, and my paladin was my main. So my GM was like, "Oh, hey, let's have you do a paladin." This was a Pathfinder 3.5, but due to GM discretion, he's like, "You do not have to be lawful good," or as he was the first one who ever told it to me, lawful stupid. So I played a more relaxed paladin. Events that probably should have stripped me of my paladin powers. I let a lich live. I let a demon, who was running an orphanage, be, perfectly fine. Until I found out he had lied to me, and then I tried to kill him. Because at that point, it was a personal affront. I agreed. One of the other party members was like, "Hey, we're going to this location. We're trying to figure out who's causing a plague in the city. I know there will be one evil person. Super evil person. It will be the bard. He's going to be on stage. You do nothing to this man." And I let that slide. I even technically was working with a chaotic, evil tiefling inquisitor who served directly under Osmodeus, or Asmodeus, however you want to pronounce that god's name. And I worked with him until he killed me. So I'm a big RP person. I don't mind combat. I do enjoy the combat. But playing my character is what's important to me. If you're a paladin that lets things slide, who gives people chances, that's fine.
I should hope you like the combat. It is in your username. It is by letter count over half your username.
I mean, yeah, but that's just because. Shut up.
Sean, Nate, you got anything? Or
Actually, yes. So, my very first campaign. I know it was D&D, but I don't think it was 5e. It was way back when I was a freshman in high school. I didn't even really know about D&D. Um,
how old are you, Nate? I can help you narrow it down. It might have been 4th edition.
26.
Yeah. So, yeah. Fuck, I forget we're the same fucking age. Yeah. Then high school, it would have been. Assuming you went in about the same time I did, 40 would have just came out if you were playing the new hotness.
Gotcha. It was probably that. My first character was a rogue. It was Blago the Impaler. It was my AQ Worlds username. I decided to make that my character name. For those unfamiliar with AQ Worlds, it's Adventure Quest Worlds. But yeah,
I love that thing.
it is hilarious. But anywho, so my backstory was I used to be a bandit and shit like that. So I pillage villages and shit like that. But I left that life. One thing led to another. I was watching the brothel that one of the other players owned, who was a drow, while she went out to go do something. So I sat there watching over the place. And then this fucking this female dog came in with fucking heavy plate and shit like that. Started talking all mad smack and started beating my ass. And then at one point I kind of got stuck into the wall. How much I was pushed in. She removed her helmet and for shiggles, I was like, "So you're the one I missed." Talking about my background, me raiding villages and all that. I love that the DM just fucking went with it and beat me until I was at 1 hit point and then left. And then the not too long after, the drow came back to our brothel, fucking trashed. To which then I responded, "How was your trip?" as I'm about to die.
Fun times.
I use the bladed gauntlets as my weapons.
Of course.
I gotta have spikes for my edge.
And to this day, I wonder why you're not a Drukari player.
Look, Nate likes being the underdogs. He's going to be Imperium a man until he dies.
How is that the underdog?
Look,
I mean, it's the most normal.
I find Krieg more edgier than Drukari, which is why I love them.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I forget you run Kriegers. But you got anything, Sean? Or you want to start wrapping? Do we want to start wrapping up?
Oh, everyone else has shared. I might as well share my very little eventful first session that I ever played in a college welcome.
Eyeball
Oh
emoji.
boy.
All right. On the edginess scale of college students, how edgy was this group?
Miraculously, not very much, if I'm recalling correctly. I don't know. That might change as I tell the story.
Fair enough.
So this was again the same game where I got an referral from a friend that there was a game. There was a game going on at the lounge, and well, again, plans had fallen through, and I didn't really have anything to do. So you know what? Why not? Go there. They hadn't even rolled up characters because this was just kind of come in, grab a sheet, and go. They were literally just setting up, and considering that I was coming around, they asked, "Do you want to stick around, chat, and you can roll some of the character sheets that we can have be chosen by anyone that wants to jump in." Said okay, and then proceeded to roll nothing less than, I want to say, 12 on like 3 of them. On 3 of those character sheets, to where one of them said, "Hey, can I take this guy to Vegas?" Anyway, bad jokes aside. Getting in, and it was kind of your typical fare. It was a the GM was more story driven than he was combat driven, which I didn't really know what to think about at the time. Just kind of rolling in, and the first character that I picked was a thief because of course it was. I wanted to be anything that I wasn't. So me being a bit of a larger fellow, you know, a guy that can actually run up walls sounds right up my alley. All that. So we ended up finding a book that calls itself God.
Wait, that seemed like a bit of a leap.
Game starts. Everything is going because the beginning was very much your average fare, getting to introduce the people and everything else. And one of the things that we were doing was there was a palace that we all wanted to get into, and we were hired to go into to find a specific item that was on the offshoot of the prince's person. Or the king, or I can't remember. It's been a while, but anyway, we get the thing, we get out with everything having gone to hell because apparently I botched one of my stealth rolls, having remembered correctly, and we got the guard on us. So managed to find a place to hide. We opened the book because, well, one, I believe was it the ranger? I can't. God damn it. Yeah, the ranger had gotten a bit of grubby fingers, and her own interpretation of it was that she basically had a curiosity that she could never satiate. So she immediately opened the book to learn what its secrets were, to find that the pages were blank. And then she asked, "What kind of book is this?" "The one you stole," it writes. And then we proceed to find that it is sentient and apparently has divinity in it. Session end!
Interesting.
I mean, at that point, it's like, what happened next? And unfortunately, the game didn't go much further than that, and I am sad.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's a thing. I mean, sometimes you just, something happens and then either the group doesn't get together because schedules are a thing, or life carries on, and you can't have the session. But it's a thing.
Anyway, been kind of got raptured into the hobby after that, and been in an addiction ever since. Anyway, if this is the time you want to wrap up.
I was just saying, we can. I just don't want to, turn it into rambling. As a synopsis of the topic, we did go a little rambly, but we're a round table podcast. It's gonna get that way.
Mm-hmm.
But
To be expected.
yep. But as a quick footnotes thing, we've today we discussed our unqualified, a little bit about ourselves and our compatriots who are not here, which will elaborate in their own time. We discussed some minor news, Dark Crystal RPG, and the new book coming out, which will definitely, when that comes out, have Merk back on, because this man tears through fucking books when they come out immediately.
I will one day own every D&D book on Roll20.
Fair enough. But then you gotta go buy them again physically.
I don't have any physical books.
I know. We one day. After that, we talked about getting into
Great time for technical difficulties.
Da, 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 da.
I just thought his brain stopped. Oh, this is something for the editing software.
Ah, Discord. Where'd I cut?
In the middle of a
Your
sentence.
second point.
Second point. Second point was. I'll just reiterate. I know we talked about the news, so
It
After
was
that, we
literally like
shared-
less than 2 minutes. So
yeah, fair enough. After that, we just jump in, have fun, and the world's your oyster. The Discord killed my rhythm. For those of you, if you like it, please, if you like what you're hearing, or just want to see how we grow when this video is on, these podcasts will be mainly uploaded to YouTube, just under my own personal channel until we get things set up to put them on podcast platforms. But if you're liking what you're listening to, or know somebody who would, leave a like. I can't promise that I will be as vigilant as life's happening, but if you have questions, comments, concerns, throw them in there in the comments, and I'll try to get to you as soon as I can. If you need for any reason, you can find me on Twitter at Ren Nightwing, all one word, REN Nightwing, like the Robin XP. But with that, I will turn over to my co-hosts to give their outros, starting with Nate, because I believe you have a prior engagement in a little bit.
Yes.
So go ahead.
With
If there's
what?
anything you want to do an outro, if there's anything you want to pimp, go ahead and pimp it. I don't expect there to be, but basically sign off.
Well, I also have my own YouTube channel, shameless plug. Look for Tactical Lolly on YouTube. You'll see me doing armor shit and other things.
you have such a terrible nickname.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. You know what? Nate had to go first, just because he might have to.
I do have to get out now, actually, but yeah.
Later.
But the way it's listed, Sean, if you wanna go next.
Yeah, sure, why not? The man with nothing special over here. I don't have a YouTube channel. I do not have a Facebook or Twitter. Though I'll be keeping tabs, so if there are any questions that are directed towards me, I'll probably be finding them either through the indirect and convoluted mess of Ryan's Ryan's channel and whatnot. Thank you, and have a good one.
And thank you, Sean. Merk.
Hi, I'm Merk. It's time to say goodbye. You can't find me anywhere. Don't look for me. I'll find you.
Well, that's not entirely true, Merk. Merk's very modest, but he does do sprite art for very reasonable prices, and it's amazing work.
Yeah. I will have social media next time I'm around.
That's fair.
And if people do decide to establish things, links will be in the doobly-doo.
I get that reference.
And last but not least, our producer and owner of the CombatMagi YouTube channel.
I will punch you. For little notes, that is a running joke to annoy me. So, yes, I do have my own YouTube, CombatMagi. But I'm a little behind on uploads, and a lot of it's personal stuff. I am the kind of recorder guy. So, due to Ren's bad memories and whatnot, we record a lot of sessions and just have them unlisted, just so the players and the GM can go back and be like, oh, okay, this is what happened 20 sessions ago, when we were first starting out.
Yeah, but you do have a couple things that are public. You have your Pokemon game that's a little behind since we're on hiatus right now.
On hiatus, and due to other issues, I have not uploaded in a few months. I have stuff to upload, it's just actually uploading. We also have the complete series of Pokemon Alamo, which was your first PTU game.
Yep. First PTU game I ever GM'd.
So, little cringe, growing pains. That was pretty early on in our group's little friendship, so there's things working out. And then there is an incomplete playthrough of Final Fantasy Tactics. So yeah, so not a lot on my channel. No Twitter or Facebook, because I know what would happen if I was on those things. I would make a complete and utter fool of myself, and I do that enough here.
Yep. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to agree with that, but no, we thank you for we thank you for joining us for the first podcast. We all know it was a bit rambly. We do very much appreciate you sitting through it, and this will be about the normal length. If we do end up having guests or anything, length will be a little bit more malleable because, we don't want to cut people off who have graciously donated our time, or their time to us.
Yes, they have donated our time.
Their time, you know what I meant. Anyway, once again, this has been the Table Trash Podcast. Our logo is done by my significant other, Caspian. I will ask him when he gets back from vacation if he has any things he wants to promote for his art. And with that, I thank you, and I think it's time for us to sign off before I make a complete ass of myself. You have a good day, week, month, or day, night, week, month, or whatever it is.